Hey everyone, welcome to Python for You, your YouTube channel for the tech trends about Python programming language. So today we're going to discuss about the speech-to-text conversion using OpenAI's Whisper package that is available to download for Python. So let's go to code. Now to start, you first need to have a virtual environment. I already created mine here. Here is my virtual environment. I called it .venv. Hope you know the command to create virtual environment is python-m venv, then the name of your virtual environment. And I have a folder called audio with the sample audios that you are going to use for this tutorial. And I also have a file called main.py where we're going to write the code and the requirements.txt file. So this requirement.txt only has one requirement, which is OpenAI Whisper. So when you activate your virtual environment, you will first have to install the requirement, which is OpenAI Whisper package. It's a free package to install. It's an open source package actually. So you can either write pip install OpenAI Whisper, or because we have the requirements.txt file, you can just write pip install read from requirements text. But since I already have everything installed, it just read from cache. But for you, it might take a while, depending on your internet speed, and it takes a couple of GBs to install because it has a lot of dependencies to install, like Torch and some other dependencies. So when you're done installing, let's start writing some code. Now the first thing is to import the Whisper package. Now after importing the Whisper package, we have to load the model. So we create a variable called model and we say whisper.load model. Now load model, you have to give a name for that model. Now the name is not a name that you just make up. OpenAI has three models from this Whisper package. The first one is base, the second one is small, and the last one is medium. They vary in performance and size. So the smallest one is called base, then there is medium, and there is small. So here we are going to use base. This is the smallest version of this Whisper, of this model, base, and it's best because depending on your computing power, if you are sure that your machine has a strong computing power, you can put medium. But for me and for the purpose of this tutorial, we are going to use base because it works fine and it has no problem at all. Then after loading the model, we have two ways of doing this. The first simple way is results equals to model.transcribe. Now we already loaded the model, so we say result.transcribe, model.transcribe. What are we going to transcribe? Transcribe means to generate the text, to give the text for that audio. So we are going to transcribe an audio. So I can copy this path here and paste it here. So results there. So the model will process this audio. Then after processing the audio, it will return the results to this variable here called results. Now we can just say print results first, print results, and we can test this. It's running here. So it's done, and this is what we get. This is the output that we get. I can close this part. Okay, so this is what we get. We get an object. How do I know that? You can see it starts with the curly brace here. So we get an object. That is the output of this result. It's an object. Now the object contains three keys or three values, I can say. The first one is text. Text, this is the text for that audio that you just gave it to transcribe. And the second one is segments. Here, this one here, segments. So segments, when this model processes the audio, it chunks it into groups, it divides it into groups. So maybe from 0 seconds to 2 seconds. So that segment is what each segment is stored in this segment's key. And the last one is, there's a lot of things here. The last one is language here. EN, this is for English. Actually, so you can give an audio for any language. OpenAI's model support almost every language. So this is not clean to read. So to prove my fact, I can say, let's say here, print result text. So this will have to give us the text. This is, I can say, text, then new line. Okay, new line, and I can say maybe language, result language. This will give us the language, and new line, segments. So it will be results segments. It's result segment. So we can run this again and see what we get. So here's the output. Now the first one is text. This one. Text. So, which is this text? Hey everyone, welcome to Python for you. Yeah. So you see, it gives the text and it's stored in this key called text, and this is its value. The second one is language. So the language is EN, which means English. And the last one is segments. Now, segments is a list containing the different time slices, maybe from 0 seconds to 2 seconds. That's the first segment. From the 3rd second to 10th second, that's the another segment. So segments contains a list for all these timestamps. So segments, you can see it's a list containing objects, which each object represent a specific segment. So the first segment, for example, we can print the first segment only here instead of the whole thing. We can say, since segments is a list, so we can say let's take only the first value of this list. And if we run this, no. Let's clear the screen first. Then run. Here's the output. Text, there we have it. Language, EN, English, and segments. Now we get an object. This object represents the first segment in this list called segments. So this first segment has an ID of 0, 6, 0. Start. Start means from what timestamp did it start. So it showed that it started from 0 seconds. This is in seconds. And when did it end? It ended on the 3rd second. Yeah. Text. Now this says what was in this segment, which text was in this segment. As I said, the model processes this audio in different segments. So it takes the first segment and its timestamp, processes it, gets that text value, then it moves on to the other segments. So this was the text in the first segment. Hey everyone, welcome to Python for You. Tokens. Now these are some other values inside: temperature, auto, no speech probe. But what we are mostly concerned with is start, end, and text. These are our main concerns. So segments, you can also go and read about the ID, seek, and these other values inside segments. But our concern is start, end, text. So start shows at what time did it start, end at what time did it end. And they're in seconds. These values are in seconds. So this is one way of doing it. Let's clear the terminal. So this is one way of doing it by printing the values to the terminal. But this might not be nice, might not be good. Now, reading the value from the terminal is not professional, I can say. So what we can do is we can create a file. That file will contain the text for the audio that we are transcribing. So maybe here we can have a file maybe called transcription.txt, which will contain the text for that audio. So let's do that. We can say with open, we are opening a file. We are giving it a name. So transcription.txt, and mode of opening, we can put W for write, and encoding, the encoding is UTF-8. So as F. Now this here means go look for a file called transcription.txt. Inside that file, write. Encoding it's not must put it here, but encoding just means the characters. Which character set are we using? You can go read about encoding character set UTF-8. This is the standard one. So our main concern are these two, file and mode. So go find a file called transcription.txt and write something inside that file. What are we going to write? We are going to write what you tell it to write down here. Now this write mode, if it does not find the file called transcription.txt, it will create that file, then write the content inside the file. So there is no need of us creating the file here manually. This will try to find the file. If the file is not found, it will create itself that specific file. So now we can store the results inside this file. So we can say f.write. F.write. What are we going to write? We are writing result text. Remember, I told you that result will be an object containing text, language, and segments. Now, result.text will be the general text, the general output, the general text for the audio. But segments, inside each segment, there is also text. but the text inside those segments represent the specific text within that timestamp, within that time slice. So result text, we are going to write it in this file, result text, and yeah, let's run this. So this time we don't need even to see the terminal. We just wait for a file to appear here. So here's a file, transcription text. See? Hey everyone, welcome to Python for you. Yeah, okay. Now maybe you did not hear the audio. Let's try this one. I don't know if VS Code supports this audio formats. Okay, oh yeah, it does. So here's the audio.
Welcome to Python for You. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about all the latest trends and topics around the Python programming language. So, whether you're a complete beginner or you're out there working on some real-world project, you're in the right place. Don't go anywhere. Today, we're just to see how...
So, that is the audio. Now, if you had it well, you can see this is the text. Hey everyone, welcome to Python for You. This is a YouTube channel where we talk about all the latest trends and topics around the Python programming language. So whether you're a complete beginner or you are out there working on some real world project, so you see it actually works, and with minimum code. But one thing, this as of now, the code works, but the output that we get is stored as a single line in this file. So assuming that we have an audio that is 30 minutes long, we will get only a single line for the entire audio, and that's a bit tiresome to read. You see, you will have to scroll. Now that's not nice. So what we can do, we are going to utilize the segments to detect if this is a paragraph, a new paragraph, or it's just a continuation of a sentence from the previous one. How are we going to do this? Inside the segments, there are two values that I said we are going to focus mostly with. We have start time and the end time. So the start time, we are going to check if the start time is, let me show you something here. Let me give you an example which will be a bit clear. So for example, here, so let's say from 0 seconds to 2 seconds the text was hello everyone, and from 2.1 seconds to 4 seconds the text was today we are going to talk about AI. From the 6 seconds to 8 seconds the text was machine learning is a subset of AI. So let's assume these are the different segments inside these segments. This 0 seconds, this is the start time, this is the end time. This is the start time, this is the end time. Same applies, start and this is end for this particular segment. So what we are going to check is that if the end time of this previous segment, this segment here, so if the end time, the time which this segment finished, which is this 2 seconds, and the time which this second segment started, which is 2.1, if the difference between these two is greater than 1.5, then that's a new paragraph. So what we are going to do is we are taking the start time of current segment minus the end time of previous segment. This will give us so if this is greater than 1.5, then this is new paragraph. This is what I mean. So we are taking the start time of this new segment, which is maybe 2.1, minus the time which the previous segment finished, which is 2 seconds. So if we take 2.1 minus 2, we get 0.1. This is not greater than 1.5. So this is not a new paragraph. It will continue and it will be, hello everyone, today we are going to talk about AI. It will just append it at the front. But for here, the end time of this second paragraph is 4 seconds. And the start time of this third paragraph, this third segment, is 6 seconds. So if we take 6 minus 4, we get 2. So it means it's greater than 1.5. So this will start in a new paragraph. It won't be in the same line. This will start in a new paragraph. Now, what's the idea? Why are we doing this? In a normal human scenario, if you speak, the time that you take to load, or the gap between your words is not that much. But if you pause for a long time, we assume that you are going to start another topic or another paragraph. So say, for example, I say, hello everyone, welcome to Python for You. This is your favorite YouTube channel. We are discussing about different Python tutorials, and if you have any real world projects or you are a beginner, then this is the channel for you. So we're going to start with Whisper, a Python package. Get my point? So when I pause for a long time, it symbolizes that I'm starting a new paragraph. But if the time that I pause is not much, it means it's just maybe a comma, or it was a full stop, so it's just the same sentence, the same paragraph. But if I pause for a long time, that's a new paragraph. So that's the idea here. So for this, I can just delete this. So for this example, the output might be something like this one here. So it will be, hello everyone, today we are going to talk about AI, in the same paragraph, the same line. Why? Because the difference between the starting time and the ending time of the previous video is not greater than 1.5. So it will just append it to the same line. But for the third segment, it's different. The difference is 2. So it assumes that the speaker was like, hello everyone, today we are going to talk about AI. Machine learning is a subset of AI. So the model assumes that, okay, this is a new paragraph after pausing for a long time. So that's the idea. I hope you get it. Now, how are we going to do this? How are we going to implement this? So to implement this, I said you have to utilize segments, because segments are the ones that store the time slice from 0 to 2. The starting and ending time are stored in segments. So we have to get the segments to be able to utilize this, to do this. So we can say segments equals to result segments. So we have the segments. Then we will create a list called paragraphs. Now this list, the main purpose of this paragraphs list is just to hold the grouped paragraphs. The purpose of this is just to hold the grouped paragraphs. And the other one is called, you can say, current paragraph. This is be too long. Just say, okay, current para, to be a list also. Now this one will be a temporary list to hold the current paragraph. So this is a temporary list to hold the lines of current paragraph. Remember I said that we have to compare the starting time of the current paragraph and the ending time of the previous paragraph. So these all will come in handy. And then we can have a variable to hold the ending time of the previous video. So we can call it maybe previous end. So this simply holds the ending time of the previous video, of previous segment actually. So we have our three values. Now from there, what we can do is we have segments here. So what we have to do is we have to loop across each segment. Remember I said segments is a list containing different segments, different objects, where each object is a segment. So since it's a list, we can loop across this list and get the specific time slices, which are the specific segments. So we can say maybe for seg in segments. So we are going to loop across these segments. Now we are going to say maybe start is equal to seg start. We are taking the start time of that segment, and the text also will be nice. Text will be seg text. Now sometimes the text might have white spaces at the beginning. You see, like it was like this. See, so sometimes the text might have some white spaces at the beginning or at the end. So we have to remove the white spaces. And Python has a function for that, which is .strip. It removes the white spaces from either the beginning or the end of the text. Then after removing that comes our comparison, which we are talking about. So if the starting time of this current segment minus the ending time of the previous segment is greater than 1.5, then what we'll do is that we'll say, since this is greater than 1.5, this is a new paragraph. So we are going to add it to the list of paragraphs. You see, this paragraphs list holds all the paragraphs. This current para holds only the current paragraph. So for instance, maybe this one here, the highlighted part is the current paragraph. So this is what is going to be held temporarily in this current para. But paragraphs will hold all the paragraphs. So since if we take start minus previous and we get that the result is greater than 1.5, it means that this is a paragraph, as we have discussed previously. So if it's a paragraph, we are going to add it to the list of paragraphs. I hope I'm clear. I'm trying to make myself as clear as possible. So paragraphs dot append. What are we going to append? We are appending the current paragraph. So, but I'm explaining this. Dot join current para. Now, what does this mean? What does paragraph dot append this dot join current para? So what it means is a gap, just the space, like here, maybe here. Hello everyone, welcome to this. This is the first paragraph, and maybe this is the second paragraph. So instead of this being concatenated together like so, the space helps to put a clear reading. So it just puts a gap, a separation by space. So it will take the current paragraph that we are dealing with right now, and it will add it to the list of paragraphs. Also, here we will have to check and current para. Now, where are we checking? We say we are checking the starting time of this current paragraph. So for this to work, we must have a current paragraph. But when the loop starts, we do not have a current paragraph. When this loop is starting, we do not have a current paragraph. So this code here won't run. You see? So if we don't check for current paragraph here, this code will bring an error, because when the loop starts, we do not have current paragraph. Current paragraph starts empty. You see? So if the loop starts, current paragraph is empty. So here, if we join current paragraph and then it's empty, it might throw an error. So to avoid that, we will have to check that is there any value in the current paragraph. So if there is a value, and if this condition is met, then add that current paragraph to the list of paragraphs. I hope I'm clear. So let's continue. And then when we add that paragraph when we take this current paragraph and add it to the list of paragraphs, we clear the current paragraph list. Why? I said current paragraph is just a temporary list to hold the list of lines of the current paragraph. So it's just a temporary list. So if we take everything in this current paragraph and we add it to the paragraphs, so we just have to clear so as the next segment can come and use this without interfering with the previous paragraphs. So when we add it like that, we clear the current paragraph list. Now here we can say current para dot append text. Don't be confused. I said when this loop starts, current paragraph is empty. So if current paragraph is empty when this loop starts, it means this part here won't execute, because we are checking if current paragraph has anything. So if this part won't execute, then it means that current paragraph is empty. So we will have to add something to the current paragraph. This is what we are adding here. The text that we took from this segment, we are adding it to current paragraph, so that this list contains a value that we will later use. Then when we add current paragraph to the list, previous time, so the previous time will be equal to the segment end. So to this point, what does this mean? To this point first, we have a list of paragraphs. This is the list. This list is what will be output in this file later on. Current para is a list that holds temporary paragraphs that are being are being transcribed at the moment. So temporary paragraphs that are contained inside the segment. A single segment can have multiple paragraphs. You see, because for us to know a paragraph, we check by this condition. This is the condition that will tell us this is a paragraph or this is not a paragraph. So current para will hold a list of lines or paragraphs that are currently in that specific segment. Then the loop will loop across different segments, the segments in the list. So this will move across the segments. We will take the starting time of that segment and the text of that segment. After taking the text, we check, is it a paragraph? If it's a paragraph, we add it to the list of paragraphs. Then we clear the current paragraph. But what if it's not a paragraph? We add we add the text, we add it to the current paragraph. Then we take the end time of this segment, we store it in previous end. So when the next loop comes, when the second iteration comes, it will take the starting time of that second segment, the text of the second segment. So here we will check the starting time of this second segment minus the previous time, which is here, of the previous segment. That's why we are setting the previous time at the end of the loop. So to this point, this is not yet changed. By here to this point here, this value is not yet changed. So until this loop ends, then will this value change to match the end time of the current segment. So to this point here, we are taking the starting time of the second segment, which is the current segment, minus the end time of the previous segment, because the loop has not yet reached at this point. So the previous segment's end time still stands. We check. If it's a paragraph, we append it, we clear the list. If it's not, then if it's a paragraph, it does that, then it continues here too. So then it updates the end time of this video to match the end time, to match its actual end time. So that's it later. Now then, from here is the part where we display. So now while displaying, there are two things to display. First, we display the paragraphs in a paragraph format. But then, because for those which are not paragraphs, those which have not passed this, have not entered inside this if condition, that have not passed this condition, those which are not paragraphs are just appended directly into the single line. So we have to print them also. So here, we will first check if current para, so if there is anything in the current paragraph, we add it to the paragraphs. Now, we just add it there as an independent paragraph. So .join current para, which stands for current paragraph. Then after that, it's time where we write everything to our file. So we open, but yeah, let's do that. We'll open we call it transcription dot text. I like to do like this. File equals transcription dot text. The mode is write, and encoding is UTF-8 as F. So now remember, all the paragraphs that we need to write are inside a list called paragraphs. So what we are going to do, we have to loop across this list to get each individual line or paragraph, then print it out to the file. So inside here we can say maybe for in paragraphs f dot write para dot strip. So this dot strip again just removes any white spaces at the beginning or end of the line. Now here's the fun part. Remember, this is a list containing paragraphs, right? So if it looks, the first iteration will contain the first paragraph. The second iteration will contain the second paragraph. The third, the same, goes on. Now, here, if we print it like this, if we write it like this, in the first iteration, it will write the first paragraph. In the second iteration, it will also write the second paragraph, but it will write where the first paragraph ended, in front of the first paragraph. So to avoid that, we have to add this new line sequencing, I think they call it that. \n means a new line, so stop there, go to a new line. So it will stop, then it will go to a new line. So if we put them 2, means it will leave 2 spaces before writing the next paragraph. So that's it. That's our code. We imported Whisper, we loaded the model, passed our audio, we took the segments, defined the variables, we looked across the segments, and yeah, so that is it. Now we can test this, we can run. So it's done. We can go and look at the transcription. Okay, what? Now we get the same output. So why? Maybe because it did not detect any paragraph in this first statement, in this first audio. So we can try another audio and see what will the output be. So let's try another audio. So we can take this one here. This is meaning, yeah, it's meaning. No, I did not mean to open it. I can copy the path. No, I can just change it here. It's meaning. Yeah. So let's try and run this. So this text should change. So let's wait for it to finish. Okay, it's done, but still it's outputting it in the same line. Could it be that also this audio has no paragraphs? We did not detect any paragraphs in this audio. So these first 2 audios are a bit short compared to. Okay, let's try the third one. Final.mp3. Okay, let's try this also. So it's done. we can come here to check. Yeah, here it is now. So yeah, I knew that the previous ones did not have. Wait, yeah. So let's do this. So in the first paragraph goes, then ends there. This the third one, the other one, the other one. Yeah. So it separates them too in paragraphs, like seen here. So the first two, depending on our check, you see we are checking that if the audio has a pause of about 1.5 seconds. So if the audio, there is no place in the audio where there is a pause of about 1.5 seconds, then that will never be detected as a paragraph. So this other audio that I used has several paragraphs as seen here. So that's it. Whisper. So thank you for watching. Be tuned for another video.